Zimbabwe is currently facing some short periods of intense rains, which may even result in some flash floods in some areas. As a result, this causes or it raises concerns of livestock safety. And not only do we focus on livestock safety, but it also raises concerns of human safety, as well as even some crops which may be subjected to floods. But however, rivers flooding at this particular time raises concerns for livestock farmers because of the flash floods, livestock can succumb to any one of the following problems that I'm about to look at. Firstly, flash floods can cause loss of livestock. Livestock may be carried away by the excess rains that are flooding the rivers. Secondly, the floods result in contaminated water sources for our livestock. Stagnant water or standing water is likely to contain some disease-causing pathogens which, when consumed by our livestock, they may fall sick. Thirdly, animals may be displaced. If the crows or the housing is placed in low-lying areas, though that housing or the crows may be washed away by the rains, causing displacement of the animals from those areas. For those with paddocks, gates, and fencing might be damaged by the excess rains or by the flood. Also, floods causing areas for the animals, and this can result in diseases such as, for example, foot rot. And of course, it is important that if you find your animal showing signs of foot rot or limping, the cause may either be foot rot or anthrax, or foot and mouth. So farmers really have to consult the vet doctor to really establish what their problem is. In low-lying areas, another challenge that farmers are likely to face because of the floods are the incessant pests. A lot of pests are likely to be multiplying faster at this particular point in time. Flies, of course, generally flies may not be so dangerous to animals, but we have a specific type of fly which may be dangerous. As an example, the tsetse, which causes the diseases in animals. We are also seeing floods can result in poor nutrition in our livestock. Why? Because the plains may be washed away, causing the grass to be covered in mud. In some instances where we store our feed may get wet, and once the feed is wet, it may develop some molds, and when consumed by the animal in that state, it causes aflatoxin poisoning. And we do have livestock species that are susceptible to aflatoxins. We are also seeing there's a challenging availability of clean water for our livestock. Flood waters usually are a reservoir for bacteria. We know that flood water is carrying debris from all the different areas around that locality. So that debris, some of it may be containing pathogens that are actually harmful to our animals. So it is important water for our livestock during the flood areas. We also can talk of diseases such as, for example, anthrax. They also tend to be on the rise during these times of floods because the bacteria is within the soils, and with floods, it's brought up to the surface and may cause diseases. Other challenges of toxicity that we may face in livestock due to flooding include, we know that as a general rule, farmers have storerooms in which they store chemicals, some of which are poisonous to animals. Now, during those floods, if some of those chemicals are carried into the water and livestock drink that water, they are liable to getting poisoned. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong with the livestock sector during this period of floods. So what is it that we are encouraging our farmers to do? Firstly and foremost, if you are in areas where you know that you are susceptible to floods, we encourage our farmers to unconfine their animals. Do not let the animals sleep in the crow at night if you know that chances are the crow may be subjected to floods overnight. You need to open them up. Of course, I know that the challenge that most farmers will face is we are in the summer season, crops are in the fields, and having unconfined animals overnight may end up in people's fields. So the other option is farmers have to relocate their animals. You need to move the structure that holds your animals from the low-lying ground and put it on a higher ground where you know that in the event of a flood overnight, your animals are not going to be washed away. If you do listen to where they might get a flood during that night, we also want to advise our farmers to evacuate their animals timely during the day. They are also saying that ensure that your feed is stored in a dry area. Don't let your feed get dry. I know that if you are feeding mold feed to cattle and other large livestock, they may resist a bit. But if you are feeding mold feed to small stock, goats, chickens, chances of showing aflatoxin poisoning are very high. Most of those small stock can easily succumb to aflatoxin poisoning. So my recommendation is farmers should store their stock feed in a dry area where they will make sure that it is not going to get moldy. Also ensure that your storage room is not in an area where the chemicals and the poisons can be washed away by the water into the natural general environment. Because once there, your livestock are also exposed to those animals. For our livestock farmers, I encourage you to test your livestock water, the water that you're going to give your livestock during these flood times. Ensure that they are not going to drink that water from the muddy potholes that remain behind after the flood, but ensure that you provide adequate clean water for your animals. We are also encouraging that as you are building your barns, ensure that you place your animal storage facilities not too close to chemical storage facilities, because it's easy for your animals to be exposed to those dangerous chemicals during that short period of time. Other safety precautions that our farmers should take: ensure that fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, treated seeds are nowhere close to your livestock, because you may lose your livestock during that way. If possible, relocate your storage rooms and ensure that you also place them on high ground where the animals are not going to be in contact with those. If you have electricity on the farm, ensure that you turn off the electricity in the event of a flood, because your animals may end up being electrocuted. Thank you.